Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion, a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles. And there ain't no fofo. Jimmy's not here. I am in South Africa hanging out with Dane Ortlund. And so we're taking the time, the opportunity to record, and we even have a little bit. We have a lot of video support here, so we're taking advantage of all of it. If you don't know who Dane Ortlund is, Dane is the Executive Vice President of Bible Publishing and Bible Publishers. Bible Publishers? Dang it.
Only
why?
One me, Joe.
Why would they do that? The only person with a longer title is Ed Stetzer over there at Wheaton College. He's like, it was incredibly long. So anyways, he's executive fancy guy at Crossway with Bibles, but he's also written a really good book called Edwards on the Christian Life. You're definitely going to want to pick that up. We'll link to that in the show notes. But what I love about Dane is he is a passionate, thoughtful theologian, an experiential theologian. And while we were here talking and hanging out in South Africa, he began to share with me something that you're writing, right? And so I wanted to hear you unpack more of it because I'm very interested in this, and I know our listeners are going to be interested in it. So you are right now working on a book about Jesus, but you're hitting something that is neglected today.
Right. Yeah, it's been simmering with me, Joe, for probably 7 years. Ever since reading a little obscure book by someone who's been dead for about 350 years, Thomas Goodwin, The Heart of Christ. So, it's a book on Jesus' own heart. Not his theology so much, not who he ate lunch with, not how he fulfilled the Old Testament, all things we learn a lot about in the Gospels. But actually, what is his deepest heart for sinners and sufferers?
This sounds kind of feely, kind of touchy-feely.
I'm a very touchy-feely kind of guy.
You give off the vibe of the least touchy-feely guy on this trip.
That's why I need this.
This book, because I'm telling you, so let me just ask you this. Are you anticipating pushback at all because of this sort of approach to the heart of Jesus? Or are you expecting, because I'm excited for it, I think it's going to be amazing.
Yes, some people are not going to like it.
But why? What's the pushback?
I think we for some reason, we just feel safer with a domesticated, doctrinally tight, and only doctrinally tight Jesus. But he was a person.
Right.
My dad pointed out to me something that Spurgeon pointed out to him, that in the four Gospels, there's only one place where Jesus himself opens up and tells us about his heart. Matthew 11:29.
Oh, yeah.
So we learn lots about Jesus and his teaching and disciples and ministry and mission, but in only one place, as I say, now I'm going to tell you in my own words, him setting the terms, what his own heart is. And in that one place, he says, I am not austere and demanding in heart. He doesn't even say something like, I am loving and joyful in heart, though that's true. The one place he opens his chest cavity up, he says, what you see is gentle and lowly in heart. So that is an astonishing claim, and I just want to reflect on that in a book.
So that's what the whole book is on, the gentle and lowly heart of Christ?
That's it. I want to expand out from that text, and not only Jesus, but in fact the character of God. The prophets in the Old Testament are these are the doom and gloom guys in the Bible, but they are some of the mushiest guys about this very theme.
So why, I think I know what you're going to say, why is this needed? What is the danger of us not understanding the low and tender heart of Jesus?
Yeah, I think I celebrate the gospel resurgence that we are enjoying today. There are so many wonderful signs and manifestations of that. I needed it myself. Something broke open in me in the summer of 2008 to see that the Bible tells me I need the gospel today and tomorrow, not just yesterday at conversion, that it is my oxygen. And I love that. But that's an objective reality. That's a black and white justification, the gospel of grace. You're completely forgiven. That's glorious. But it's objective. There's a subjective side. There's an affectional side to the gospel that penetrates not just into what Jesus did, but actually who he is, what comes pouring out of him most naturally. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay. So when I think about, like, because you're really, in addressing this issue, you want to reform some of us in our view of Jesus and how we relate to him, because, how we understand his heart is going to have an impact, right, in how we approach him. And I just think that, like, in the way that I sometimes think of Jesus is just kind of frowning and shaking his head at me like I'm a dummy. Yeah. Just like, what a dummy. Yeah. Look at this dumb guy. Like, he's doing it again. Yeah. And that's really not how he interacts with sinners. No. If he does interact that way, it's usually with teachers in positions of authority who are abusing other people.
Yeah. It's with the impenitent, but with the penitent, with the reduced, with the broken, with the hollowed out, with those who have just torpedoed their life, and they know it, and they're just looking for some help and answer and life. I'm exactly the same way as you, brother. I roll out of bed, and what I am thinking in this little mental universe is another day where I'm going to fall short. God is disappointed with me, discouraged with me, frustrated with me. He loves me. Yeah. I'm totally forgiven. But he's actually kind of thinking, when are you going to get it together?
You're the dumb kid that never gets it right. Like, that's how we feel. Like, we shouldn't feel that way.
Yeah, and we are endlessly resourceful in our internal manufacturing of reasons for God to feel that way toward us. And Jesus comes to us and looks us in the eye, and he says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. In other words, you're never going to find someone more accessible and more understanding. He is the most approachable person in the universe. The exalted one is gentle and lowly.
The sustainer of the universe.
Right.
See, that's trippy, because we don't do well with paradoxes and apparent contradictions and things that are like how can God be sovereign and man be responsible? How can Jesus be holy, eternal and unchangeable, and yet be the most approachable? I mean, that's a powerful statement, that the Son of God is the most approachable being in the universe. Maybe you could explain this, like, what is really at the bottom of that idea that Jesus is lowly in heart? Like, what's really at the bottom of that concept? What's he saying fundamentally?
Yeah, when he says he's gentle and lowly in heart, some versions will say gentle and humble in heart. Right. It's a Greek word. It's the same word elsewhere in the New Testament that occurs in virtueless for humility. Okay. So I think, what in the world does Jesus have to be humble about? Right. He has every reason not to be humble. Well, while being perfect as the Son of God, what Jesus is saying about himself is, I am in complete solidarity with the distraught, sinners and sufferers. I am not holding you at arm's length. I am not, think of a little 6-year-old kid touching a slug for the first time. Kind of reaches out and barely touches it and screws his face up and then retracts right away. That's how we think of Jesus. Right. And he's saying in that statement, Matthew 11:29, the opposite. What he's saying is that is the photo negative of actually my heart. This is what I love. His heart, not just how he conducts himself. Yeah. But if you pierce his heart, which in the Bible, as you know, doesn't just mean your emotional life, but your animating center. Right. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What gets him out of bed in the morning, so to speak, is to be in solidarity with his distraught people. That is the first thing that comes out of him, that bubbles up within him, that pours out of him most naturally.
This would be relevant to, if we're talking about the heart of Jesus and not just what he does, and of course you can't separate those two in God, but yet we do. Like, I'll do the right thing, but I ain't feeling it. We'll say the right thing, and we'll be, I won't be polite, you'll be polite, and you'll say the right thing, but you might not be feeling it on the inside. Yeah. Whereas when Jesus does what is right, he always does what is right in accordance with his nature, he is feeling it. And I'm just as you're talking about it, I'm thinking about people not only who are struggling with guilt and struggling with a sense of unworthiness, but I'm also thinking about people who have suffered, suffered trauma and sexual abuse, to know that in their brokenness, like Jesus legitimately cares, that there is affection in God's heart for them that is compassionate. That is healing. I mean, what could be more healing than that sort of intimacy with your Maker?
Yeah, completely holy, exalted, infinitely dignified, existing eternally, is the one who, according to Hebrews 5:2, talking about the priesthood and then applying it to Christ, is the one who can deal gently with the wayward and the ignorant. So he nuzzles up to us, and without nothing doctrinally soft here. He gets down with us in our actual experience and puts his arm around us and actually buries us into his heart. He hugs us into the very internal recesses of his heart. That's what he does. He doesn't just come alongside us and forgive us. He does that.
He's not here for a job.
No.
And this is what I love, because, for the past, 27 years, I've been reading Reformed theology, and when we write and read on the incarnation, it's about all this Jesus condescending and becoming one of us and walking with us, but this takes it to another level, because it's not just a willful identifying with. There is, I don't want to say emotional, that's a new word, it's a modern word, but there is real affection in the person of Jesus for his people. You should write a book on this. I am so excited about this. So as our people are kind of thinking through this, right? As I'm thinking through this, what are some passages of Scripture that are going to be key for us? Obviously, Matthew 11. Are there any others that you would say, these are some passages that I want you guys to meditate on before you buy my book whenever it comes out?
Yep, there are some pillar passages. Exodus 34, 6 and 7. The key revelation in the entire Old Testament of God's character.
Repeated in a number of places.
Picked up throughout the past. And actually, it's disproportionate. God is simple. By that we mean every one of his attributes he has fully. He's not a pie with sections of attributes. So we don't want to threaten that vital doctrine. But when he sets the terms and he tells us, not us creating him in our image, but he tells us who he is. Exodus 34, it's love, and I will be justice, but mercy. Jeremiah 30 to 33, scholars call it the Book of Consolation. You got a lot of angry judgment in the first 29 chapters, a lot of angry judgment in the last half of the book, but this island, Jeremiah 30 to 33, it's unreal, Joe. I yearn for you with the Hebrew word is bowels.
Wow, yeah.
The
deepest part.
Heart, statements like this, I have loved you with an everlasting love. After 29 chapters of telling them their record, which is not good. Hosea 11. Matthew 11 for sure. Hebrews. Goodwin's book, The Heart of Christ, was written on Hebrews 4:15. That Christ was made like us in every respect except sin, so he can sympathize with us. Hebrews 5:2. Ephesians 2:7. What is the point of everything? The point of everything is to display the loving heart of Christ in eternity forevermore. And thereby is God glorified. Wow. Those are a few.
And then what could we read on this? Nobody's writing on it today, but some people have written on it in the past. So what are some classic resources, maybe 2 classic resources that you would say, hey, find this online or pick it up at a bookstore or Amazon? What's out there that they should read? Not
Rob Bell. Because
you think?
One reason I'm so anxious for us to have a book like this, Joe, is I think can be nervous about being heard and clumped in with that kind of theology when we talk in effusive ways about the love of God. But the Puritans weren't afraid of that.
That's right.
So Goodwin, The Heart of Christ, that's one. It's pretty stodgy, pretty analytical, but so you have to mine hard, but you will find gold. Goodwin, The Heart of Christ, a fuller title was The Heart of Christ Who is in Heaven for Sinners Who are on Earth.
Wow.
Jeremiah Burroughs, a good one, Richard Sibbes. Okay,
Yeah.
Richard Sibbes, The Bruised Reed.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, it's the same basic message. Jesus deals with us tenderly. Go to him. His arms are open.
Have you read William Bridge, An Uplifting for the Downcast?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. That was a really helpful book for me, along with Sibbes. And you know, like this is medicine for every soul, right? But you know, what comes to mind for me a lot are people who are anxious and people who are depressed, not just clinically so. I mean, just you know, in various ways, over you know, consciences that are burdened or over lives that are difficult and fraught with difficulty. But it's medicine that we all need in various ways. When can we expect to maybe see something about this book?
Oh, I'm just starting to get everything that's in my mind and heart down. So it'll be a few years.
Oh, seriously? What are we doing the podcast for? It'll be 3 years? Jesus will be coming back before then. We're gonna have. Oh my gosh, we wasted our time. Yeah, sorry everybody. You're gonna have to just hold your breath for the book that's never gonna come.
You got the Puritans in the meantime.
All right. No, seriously, I can't wait to see what you come up with because just you talked to me about that maybe on the plane or something, and it's been echoing in my heart since. And so I plan on going deep. I plan on checking out the resources and meditating on those passages of Scripture. If you want to follow my man on social media, he doesn't want you to, so I'm not going to give that information out. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday. New articles coming out every Wednesday. And look, we got video finally, so stop complaining about that. Later.